Okay, so having logged into your CIT email, I want you to go straight then to Blogger. So www.blogger.com. And it may prompt you for some additional information. But you want to get to the dashboard where you can say create a new blog. So what I'll do is I might press ahead with the steps, and you can just watch even. Or if you want to try and come with me, that's fine too. But if you don't keep up, don't worry, because we'll have loads of time and we'll come around again in a minute. Okay, so I kind of press ahead. So here we have create new blog, and I'm just going to make up a name. Now this is the name of the blog, so we could say just for the crack, which is actually a great name for a blog now that I think of it. And then the address part is going to be the URL. So obviously you won't want spaces in that, for example. So this could be just crack. And you can see there that it's telling me that that's available. And then you get to pick a template. No, there's a few here, but you could actually probably go online and, you know, import other ones as well. Actually, this isn't even. There's actually a whole bunch of these underneath these again. So I'm going to go for simple and go from there. And it appears that there is stuff down the bottom of my window. Sorry, there now. And create blog. And here I'm going to go. Here then, if I click on that little icon there, the little stack there, you can see all of the options then that are available on the left. Now you could, if you wanted, you could just start blogging straight away there now. But there are a number of things we want to set on our blogs. If for some reason you have your browser or your settings set to something other than English, it may have taken your language preference with you. So you may need to manually go on and set the blogs to be in English if you want. No. So in settings, there's a bunch of things here. So in the basic ones, we have the title, description. I could edit that. I may do that later. Here in the permissions, it's showing who the authors are. If you were having a group project and had a group blog, one of you might create the blog and then allow the other members of the group to be authors of it. So one of you would be the primary owner and the others would share that. And this is set to allow anybody to read the blog. So that's fine, you don't need to change that. So your blogs will be public. Now we discussed a little bit in class yesterday the implications of that. So it's worth bearing in mind that anyone can see what you write. And you should probably assume that anyone will be able to see what you wrote forever. So when you're 105, God help you, you probably live that long, people will be able to see what you wrote 80 years ago for this class. So if I regret some of the things I said and did 20 years ago, you can imagine how you might feel when you're 80 years down the road. So just be mindful of that. In posts and comments, you can set up whether you allow people to comment on your blog or not. Now you do want that, okay, but you probably want to set it up so that you can vet the comments before they're published. Here we can say posts at most, however, on one page, that's fine. Now, showcase images with Lightbox. If you've managed to find your way to the screen with me, I want you to set that to no right now. There's just two different ways of displaying the images, and there's a little thing we'll be doing later, and if you have them set to display with Lightbox, it makes life harder for me for something. So I'll be asking you to set that. No. So who can comment? You can have anyone, or you can have a registered user. Now, even with the registered user, you may not know who they are. Do you know what I mean? It could be just a kind of a Joe account that's just made up. But at least there'll be some way of identifying the person. But comment moderation is the thing I was talking about, where you decide if it goes public straight away, or if you get to read it first, and then you say, okay, publish this, don't publish that. You really should turn that on. And you'd put in your email address there then if you want a notification. So you could have it that every time someone leaves a comment on your blog, you get an email. Depending on how, if you're one of those people that like your phone beeps every time someone on Facebook does something, then this extra bit of information won't trouble you. But if you get too many emails already, you might leave that alone. And you just have, when you log into Blogger, then it would show you the things that, the comments that need to be moderated. Another reason, well, I mean, if you're me and, you know, students think you're a bollocks, that's the reason you would have moderation. But another reason to have it is just comment spam, it's called. So you're familiar with email spam, where, like, you know, come and visit my fantastic website, which, you know, you can buy watches or buy drugs or buy whatever. And you get all those emails. Now we have filtering systems to stop most of those. Comment spam is where someone who you don't know, in fact it's not even a person, it's a bot, leaves a comment on your blog about, oh, your blog is really great, man, it's so cool and really interesting. And you can visit my blog at whatever, you know, buymywatchesanddrugs.com or whatever. So it's seemingly someone giving you a compliment, but really all they're interested in is leaving that link to their site at the end. So that's comment spam. So you want to make sure that's not there. Show word verification is a CAPTCHA. You might set that to yes. That's that really annoying thing that you know, kind of a squishy up word that you have to decipher before you can proceed. So you see that on the Ryanair website, for example. And Vodafone web text does it now as well. That's to check that you're human. So that text is designed to be just readable by humans, but not readable at all by machines. And that's what that's for. So you could turn that on. Okay, so that's posts and comments. Mobile and email. Whatever. I love this. This allows you to automatically post to your blog by sending an email. Now, even if you have a smartphone or even if you get the smartphone and you get the Blogger app, there's an app you can get for your phone that'll make it easier to blog too. It's great really if you just want to knock something off in a hurry. It's so easy to send an email from your phone. So you would set it up so that it would be your email. You would create this email address where you put something in here. Obviously you wouldn't give that out to people, because anybody who would have that email address could post straight to your blog. But you put something in there, and then the emails would become blog posts straight away. I love that because if I want to make a note of what we did in class, I don't particularly care about the formatting or anything. I just want to get it done quickly before I forget it. So I fire those off, and they're great. You can, if you want, set up your mobile phone so that you can send a text message. But most of you probably have phones that would have email and browsers anyway. Language and formatting, there's one or two things you need to change there. your blog will default to using the time in California, which is Pacific time, which is 8 hours behind us. So most of those people are only going to bed now. Well, if they're very healthy, they've been asleep for a couple of hours, but it's only, 1 o'clock in the morning in California now. So if you were to post something right now, it would show as having been written at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you want to change that to the time zone here, which is, you see Dublin there, or Lisbon, or... So if you see London, London will do fine, or Lisbon or Dublin. Okay? You can set the format, whether you want to be 24-hour or whatever you prefer. I personally prefer 24-hour. Do you see there? And you can mess around with those, pick whatever you prefer. And in other settings, there's nothing there really that's important. You can, if you, depending on the themes you may be discussing, you can, if you want, flag your site as adult content. No, I'm not sure if that would get you more or less hits, but it would just mean that if some people have set up their browsers to stop kids viewing adult sites, well, it's of course not adult, it's adult, if you know what I mean. But I can't imagine, I mean, you're free to post whatever you wish, but I can't imagine you'd be, given the warning I said about, you know, stuff following you forever, I can't imagine we're going to have much adult content. No. There's a thing here called Google Analytics. Just remember that that setting is in the other option there. You'll be putting a Google Analytics ID in here. I'll be talking about Google Analytics in length in another class. But what Google Analytics allows you to do is it allows you to monitor, you know, where your hits are coming from, where your viewers are coming from, what search terms they got to find you, things like that. So if this was a site for your business, or if you were a celebrity and you needed to know, you know, who was talking you up, this would help you figure out where your traffic was coming from and who you're, like, if Google knows, for example, that the person looking at your site is a male in his 30s, well, it'll you know, what's the word? Correlate all that information for you. Not correlate. What is it? Whatever. It'll string it all together anyway and let you know. So you might get some information about your audience. Obviously, you're not going to be so into this that you're going to care, you know, that 20% of your audience is in France. Like, but I want you to imagine that you do care and see how all that works. So I'm going to ask you, you know, like, I mean, you might get 10 hits a week, like, if you're lucky. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a big deal, but I want you to actually think like it is a big deal and have a look at where all these things are coming from, because I want you to understand it and know how this works. I mean, if you're a business and you're investing time in setting up a blog, and you're giving someone, you know, you're saying to someone, I want you to spend, you know, 3 half days a week working on the blog. You want to know where the traffic is coming from. You want to know how many hits you have, all those kind of things. So we'll talk a lot about that in another class. In terms of the template, you can mess around with what it looks like. You can tweak around. You can mess around with the layout and things like that. I'll leave you to play with that yourself. We'll talk too about Google advertising. You can set it up so that you can display ads on your page, on your blog, and if people click on the ads, you'll get money. Actual real money will turn up in your bank account. Now, you have to earn more $80 before they'll bother. Well, actually, no, that's only if they want to send you a check. If it's a smaller amount.
It's 10.
10, yeah? So, if you set it up and they approve you, money will turn up in your bank account from time to time. It really is that simple. No, I mean, I make about $8 a year, I'd say. Like, it's not. But I did this a couple of years ago with another class. One girl, she was making like $80 a month. She was talking about shoes. And apparently, a lot of people want to read about shoes. Do you know? And I knew all about shoes by the end of it. But she was raking it in there. Do you know? Whereas the kind of stuff I talk about, people don't really want to read. Or else they're so interested in what they're reading, they don't click on the ads. Maybe that's my excuse. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. The content and so is so engaging, the ads don't distract them. Anyway, so some people make quite a lot of money. So, I mean, especially if you're blogging about celebrities, that could be your full-time job. No, I mean, I wouldn't want that job myself, but there are people who would like that job. So that's it, and we'll talk about that too in another class. So you may want to set that up. The last time around this module, the people that just set up their blog weren't approved by Google, and the people that reactivated a blog they'd started kind of for a class a year or two earlier, because the blog had been around longer, they were approved. So I don't anticipate that you will be approved by Google, certainly not at the start of the semester anyway. Perhaps by the end of the semester you could apply again and keep doing it in your own time if you wanted. I have found that for me the blog turned out to be great because it allowed me to remember what I did like last week, because I have, like, there was a time I might do a module, I might have 2 or 3 modules, so I'd know where I was in each module. But now that I teach the same module to different groups, and it's looking like for one group I might only have half or whatever and this kind of thing, I try to where I'd be half the time. Like, I say, okay, did I do this? What did I do now with this crowd last week? How far am I with this slot? And I couldn't keep all that in my head. Whereas by having the blog and just making a quick note of what I've done in every class, it helps me keep organized. If you're a student, obviously you don't have the same issue, but I think it can be really, really encouraging, actually, if you were to keep a blog over your whole college career. It can be really nice for you to see, even to look back and think, God, last year I was so clueless, you know. I know so much more now. You know, it's almost a way for you to sort of track your own development through the college. It can be really encouraging to have that sort of, leave that trail behind you. It's also very good practice to write a little bit. I have found that many students struggle with English. The only ones that don't are the people for whom English is their second language. So the Polish people are fine usually. It's the Irish people struggle with English. So writing a little bit every week can be very good practice as well. So I think I've shown you there everything that you need to get started, and then you just say new post. Yippee, blah, 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 blah. If you want to be a hero, you can write it in raw HTML, or you can just do the compose thing and then you have your bold and your italics and stuff there. You can embed YouTube videos. Pictures. You can take them off the web or off your computer, and so on. So what I will be asking you to do, and I'll give you more details on this, is at least once a week you'll make a post outlining what we did in this module that week. So at a minimum you'll do that. For more marks, you might want to do some extra research, maybe have some comment on it, or maybe have some opinion. I'm not terribly interested in pictures of you in the pub, you know, shifting someone, but that's allowed too. But you have to meet the minimum requirements in terms of meeting the stuff, do the stuff about the module. You can do extra stuff if you want on top of that, that's fine. But maybe as an exercise, you should try and start crafting a professional persona for yourself. So imagine that you're going to keep writing this for the next 3 years in college, and when someone Googles, when a prospective employer Googles your name, they might stumble upon this and think, oh, this is a very clever, you know, well-read, energetic, interested person. I think I should hire them. And maybe save the pictures of you shifting someone in a nightclub for Facebook. So maybe you could start crafting your professional online footprint with this and see how that goes. No, at least it's with Google, so Google is a bit better in terms of deleting stuff than, say, Facebook. So if you do post something and you decide in a year or two's time that maybe it wasn't a good idea and you delete it from Blogger, you know, you might be lucky. It might actually go away, or at least be harder for people to find. So everybody got an idea? I was going to say, is everybody clear on what I want you to do? But I don't think you could be based on what I've said. But everybody got an idea? You got the gist of what I want you to do? Yeah. So today anyway, the main thing you want to do is get the blog started. Now, I mean, bear in mind what I said now about trying to create a professional persona for you. I mean, I've had people make the URL, you know, stupidfuckingblog.blogspot.com. And you're like, well, okay, I mean, that's a perfectly valid, you know, URL. But like, what message are you sending to the world? You know? And again, your profile picture, I mean, picture's a picture, you know, it can be anything you want. But like, big, huge cannabis leaf, what are you projecting? You know, big bottle of vodka in your hand, what are you projecting? You're allowed, you know, do what you want in your own time, but try and craft here now the beginning of your, you know, professional online persona. So you can be Clark Kent at home, you want to be Superman here, okay? Any questions? Cool. Okay. So I'll come around now and just give you a hand if you're stuck or if you missed some of that.